Hello everyone, my name is Naveen Singh. I'll be taking physics for DMLT and paramedical courses. So in this session, we'll be studying the chapter 5 of physics, that is heat and temperature. So this is part 3 of the video lecture. So if you have not watched part 1 and part 2, I'll provide the link of that part 1 and part 2 in the description box. Okay, let us move on to the question number 8, that is explain the types of thermometer. Here thermometer, we should know the meaning of thermometer. Here thermometer means it is a device which is used to measure temperature. Okay, so there are two types of thermometer. First one is clinical thermometer and the second one is laboratory thermometer. So we'll discuss one by one. So first one is clinical thermometer. Okay, here clinical thermometer is developed for clinical purposes. Okay, it is developed for body checkup, that is human body temperature checkup. This clinical thermometer is used for human body temperature checkup. Okay, and it is this is a long glass, a long narrow glass tube containing a bulb containing mercury at the end. The normal temperature of the body is human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, and which can fluctuate between 35 to 42 degrees Celsius. So that is the reason why this clinical thermometer it ranges from 35 to 42 degrees Celsius. So the level of mercury tells us the body temperature in degrees Celsius. So clinical thermometer must be sterilized before safe and clean checkup. So this is the information about clinical thermometer. Let us move on to the next one, that is laboratory thermometer. Yeah, laboratory thermometer is generally known as lab thermometer, which is used for measuring temperature other than body temperature. That is, it can range from the range of laboratory thermometer is 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. Okay, the laboratory thermometer are designed for lab purposes, that is for checking boiling point, freezing point, and temperature of other substance. So this is about laboratory thermometer. Let us move on to the next question, that is question number 9, that is explain expansion of gas. So let us move on to the next question, that is question number 9, that is explain the expansion of gases or gas. So let us discuss this question. Okay, so when dealing with the expansion of gases, it is important to be aware that both temperature and pressure determine the change in volume of a substance. So before that, we'll learn the keywords, that is we'll learn the meaning of volume, pressure, and temperature, and the number of moles. Volume means volume is amount of space an object takes up. Volume means amount of amount of space an object takes place or takes up. So this is the meaning of volume. Let us learn about pressure. Yeah, pressure means here it is pressure is caused by collision of molecules with a container's wall. Here pressure is caused by pressure is caused by collision of molecules, collision of collision of molecules with container's wall, with wall of a container. We can write wall of the container, walls of container. So next one is temperature. Here temperature, it is average kinetic energy of the molecule. Temperature means it is an average kinetic energy of molecules. It is an average kinetic energy of a molecule. So next one is number of moles. Next one is number of moles. The number of moles means it is related to the number of particles. It is related to number of particles. So we'll move on to the next one, that is ideal gas law equation. So let us learn about ideal ideal gas law equation. Ideal gas law equation. Here, ideal gas law equation allows us to calculate the pressure, volume, temperature, and moles of gases. So we'll write the ideal gas law equation. That is, ideal gas law equation is PV is equal to nRT. PV is equal to nRT. This is the formula. Here P means pressure. That is, unit is Pascal. V is volume. V is volume. It should be in meter cube, and N means number of moles. Number of moles, and R is constant. Here R is the value of R is 8.31. R is constant. The value of that is 8.31, and temperature is and T is temperature. That is, it should be in Kelvin. T is temperature, and it should be in Kelvin. So this is about ideal gas law equation. So there are three laws in gas laws equation. First one is Charles law, second one is Boyle's law, third one is Gay-Lussac's law. So we'll discuss one by one. First one is Charles law. We'll discuss one by one. First one is Charles law. One second. Charles law. First one is Charles law. Spelling. Charles law. Okay, this is about Charles law. So let us discuss about Charles law. Here, Charles law states that at a constant pressure, volume is directly proportional to temperature. So this is proportional symbol. This is proportional symbol. Here this is proportional symbol. Here at constant pressure, volume is directly proportional to temperature. This law states that Charles law states that volume at a constant pressure, volume is directly proportional to temperature. That means if the temperature increases, volume also increases. That is the meaning of directly proportional. So let us write about this. We'll write the definition of this. At a constant temperature, at a constant pressure, volume of a gas is directly proportional to temperature. So this is the definition of Charles law. We'll write in equation form, that is, volume is directly proportional to temperature. Here we'll write at constant pressure, at constant pressure. Okay, at constant pressure, or we can say if you remove the proportion, it will be V is equal to KT. If you remove the proportion, you will get constant. Okay, or we'll simply write, to avoid confusion, we'll write constant. Some people will think it is Kelvin. Constant into T. So V by T, volume by temperature, is equal to constant. Or we can say, if two or more volume and temperature are given, we can apply this, that is V1 by T1 is equal to V2 by T2. This is the another formula which can apply on the basis of Charles law. So this is the formula, and we'll draw the graph of this. The graph will be volume versus temperature. On y-axis it should be volume, because volume is dependent quantity, so it is in meter cube. And temperature should be in x-axis, that is it should be in Kelvin. Temperature Kelvin. So the graph will be directly proportional, it will be like, it will be straight. So this is the graph of Charles law. So let us now move on to the next one, that is Gay-Lussac's law. Second one is Gay-Lussac's law. Gay-Lussac's law. Here Gay-Lussac's law says at a constant volume, pressure is directly proportional to temperature. Okay, this law says pressure is directly proportional to temperature at a constant volume. We'll write the definition of this. At constant volume, at constant volume, okay, at constant volume, pressure of a gas is directly proportional to, so this is a symbol of directly proportional to, proportional to directly proportional to temperature at, you can write if you want to add one more thing, that is at standard uh, temperature at STP, that's standard temperature. So this is the definition of Gay-Lussac's law, and this is the formula. Okay. Okay, and if you remove the proportional, constant will come, that is K T, or you can say P by T is equal to K. Here again we'll write constant to avoid confusion. K is constant into T, constant. Okay, and also we'll write the formula, we can write the formula, that is P1 by T1 is equal to P2 by T2. So this is the another formula which can be used with the help of Gay-Lussac's law, and we'll draw the graph of this. The graph can be, it will be like this. Again, temperature versus temperature. Here all the gas law, that is Boyle's law, Charles law, and Gay-Lussac's law, all are valid at temperature, provided the temperature should be in Kelvin. Temperature should be Kelvin, and pressure should be in Pascal. So it will be like this. This is the, 1 second. So this is the graph of pressure versus temperature. Let us move on to the third one, that is a Boyle's law. Next one is Boyle's law. Third one is Boyle's law. So let us discuss about Boyle's law. Yeah, Boyle's law says, okay, at a constant temperature, at constant temperature, pressure is inversely proportional to, here in 1 by yeah, this is inversely, because 1 by V is there, right? So this means inversely proportional. So at constant temperature, pressure is inversely proportional to the volume of a gas. So this is called Boyle's law. So we'll write the definition of Boyle's law. At constant temperature, at constant temperature, the the pressure is inversely inversely proportional to inversely proportional to volume of a gas. Volume of a gas is called volume of a gas is called Boyle's law. So this is the definition of Boyle's law. Okay. Again, we'll solve this. That is, if you remove the proportional, that is one constant will come. That is constant divided by V, or you can say P into V equal to constant. If you send that side, this will be P into V is equal to constant, or you can say if two or more pressure and volume is given, we can write P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. This is the formula of another formula of Boyle's law. Again, we'll draw the graph of Boyle's law, that is pressure versus volume. Since they are inversely proportional, the graph will be like this. Okay, this is volume, it should be in meter cube, and this should be volume versus pressure, it should be in Pascal at a constant temperature. So these are the laws of gas equations. So when only one number of particles are held constant, you use what is known as combined gas law. For example, if you combine all the three gas laws, you will get one formula, that is P1 V1 by T1 is equal to P2 V2 by T2. This is the combination of all the three gas laws. If you combine all the three gas laws, you will get this formula. This is a very important formula. Okay, and again the temperature should be in Kelvin. So this is the complete information about the question number 9. So let us move on to the next question, that is question number 10. So let us move on to the question number 9, that is anomalous expansion of water. Okay, let us discuss this question. Okay, a common observation is seen in the behavior of the system, that is when they expand when it is heated. Any substance will expand when it is heated. Okay, and the density decreases. Okay, when any substance is heated, the density of that substance will be decreases because the volume will be increases, right? Vice versa will take place when the material is cooled. This is how the substance generally react with heat. Okay, the general tendency of water remains unchanged till 4 degrees Celsius. So even in the case of water, the same thing will happen till 4 degrees Celsius. But the behavior of water will change between 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. That is only the anomalous expansion of water. Let us discuss about it. Okay, density of water gradually increases as you cool it down. Here, we are talking about, for example, let us take 0 to 100 degrees Celsius. So the density, as you cool it down, 0 to, for example, the water temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. As you cool it down, the density of water gradually increases. Okay, the density will increases as you cool it down. Okay, this is the first point. Next one is when it reaches 4 degrees Celsius. For example, 100 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius. We are the temperature of water is at 4 degrees Celsius. Okay, when you reach 4 degrees Celsius, the density reaches to maximum. Here the density of water is maximum at 4 degrees Celsius, because the volume of water at 4 degrees Celsius is the minimum. When you cool it further, that is to make ice. When you cool it further, that is when you decrease the temperature from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, that is till 0 degrees Celsius, water will expand, and further drop in temperature means the density of water decreases as you cool it down. It is from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, the density decreases. From 100 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, density increases. So this is the anomalous expansion of water. Okay, and this effect of expansion of water, it's coldest. Okay, the effect of this expansion of water is that the coldest water will always be present on the surface. So because of this, the coldest water will accumulate on the top of the water body, and normal, that is 4 degrees Celsius water will accumulate at the bottom. Because of this effect, since the water at 4 degrees is heaviest, the water will settle down the bottom of the, for example, this is bottom water is 4 degrees Celsius, and above is it might be 0 degrees Celsius. So 0 degrees Celsius will float over the 4 degrees Celsius, because 4 degrees Celsius water is heaviest. Okay, and the lightest, that is coldest layer, accumulates on the top. That is 0 degree degree water will accumulate on the top, and 4 degree temperature of water will accumulate or will settle at the bottom. Okay, so in winter, the top water is always freezes first. Okay, the top water is always freezes, since ice water both are bad, since the ice and water are both bad conductor of heat. This top layer of ice insulate the rest of the water body from the cold winter, thereby protecting the life of a water bodies. That is what they're saying is, so this 0 degree Celsius will be converted to ice. So for example, this is ice. So this ice and water both are bad conductor of heat. So they'll prevent it from further cooling. That is, so this will maintain 4 degrees Celsius. That is the reason why in winter the ocean will not freeze, because even though the temperature of winter falls below minus 27 degrees Celsius, the bottom layer will be maintained 4 degrees Celsius, because the top layer of the water body freezes, because ice is a bad conductor of heat and electricity. So that is the reason why it will further prevent it from cooling it down. So that is the reason why all the ocean creatures will be no it will maintain the good habitat for living of ocean or water bodies. So we'll revise once again. So we'll discuss once again, that is anomalous expansion of water. We'll take a range of 0 degree to 100 degrees Celsius. So this is the temperature scale of 0 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. So we are discussing the anomalous expansion once again. Okay, as you cool it down from 100 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, the volume decreases. Okay, the volume, because the volume decreases, and density increases, since the density of water at 4 degrees Celsius is heaviest. Density is heaviest because the volume is minimum at 4 degrees Celsius. So the density at 4 degrees Celsius is heaviest. Density at 4 degrees Celsius, density of water at 4 degrees Celsius is heaviest. One second. Is heaviest. Okay, if you cool it further to make it ice, the density increases. Okay, the density. I first will write about volume. The volume increases. And density decreases. Okay, because of this phenomena, the water will accumulate. That is, the cold water will accumulate on the top of the water body, and the warm water, that is 4 degrees Celsius, will accumulate to the bottom. That is cold. So the cold water will accumulate to the top surface of the ocean creature or water body. For example, this is 0 degrees Celsius, and 4 degrees Celsius water will be accumulated at the bottom. So because of this reason, in winter, the ocean creatures or water animals will be, it will maintain the habitat for living condition. So that is the reason why ocean animals will not die at in winter. Okay, so this is about anomalous expansion of water. Let us move on to the next question. So let us move on to the next question. That is question number 11. That is give an account of gas law. This question has been already discussed. That is we have to discuss about Boyle's law, Charles law, and Gay-Lussac's law. So three laws we have to discuss here in the uh, account of gas laws. So this is already completed. Let us move on to the next one. That is question number 12. That is Celsius. So define Celsius. Here Celsius is the measurement of temperature in degree. Here Celsius is the measurement of temperature in degree, which represent the freezing point of water. That is 0 degree. Represent the 0 degree represent the freezing point of water, and 100 degrees Celsius represent the boiling point of water, and at standard atmosphere, and which is a mean barometric pressure at the mean sea level. So this is about Celsius. So let us move to the next one. That is Kelvin. Here Kelvin is a base SI unit measurement. It is a base SI unit measurement, and it is defined as the fraction of 1 by 273.16 of a temperature of a triple point of water, which is the temperature at which the water in solid, liquid, and gases state coexist at equilibrium. So this is called triple point of water. So again, we'll read the definition once again. Kelvin is defined as the fraction of 1 by 273.16 of the temperature of the triple point of water, which is the temperature at which the water in solid, liquid, and gaseous state coexist in equilibrium. So this is about Kelvin. So let us move on to the next question. That is question number 14. Question number 14 says that they're asking the source of body temperature. The primary source of body temperature is here. Here the primary source of body temperature is not something which is constant, rather than the heat is generated in different aspect. That is, it depends upon the situation. For example, the major source of heat in our body is metabolism and muscle heat. The major sources of heat in the body is metabolism and muscle heat. So there are other minor sources. So let us look up to the metabolism. Here metabolism is heat released in chemical reaction. Metabolism, what? It is a metabolism means heat released in a chemical reaction in a cellular respiration. In cellular respiration, a major source of metabolism heat is liver. Here liver, which is at constant work. So once again, I'll repeat this. That is, metabolism is a heat release in chemical reaction. Metabolism is heat release in a chemical reaction in a cellular respiration. A major source of metabolism is major source of metabolism heat is liver, which is at constant work. Another concentrated source is brain. Another source is brain, that uses 20% of the glucose processed in the body. So 100 out of 100%, 20% of the energy is used by our brain only, right? The other organ which release heat when they are active, for example, intestine, that is while digesting it will release heat and moving nutrients into the circulation. So this is about the source of heat. Let us move on to the question number next one. That is question number 15. Next one is isothermal process. Okay, let us discuss about isothermal process. An isothermal process. Okay, an isothermal process is a change in the system. It is a change of a system. It is a change of a system in which the temperature remains constant. Here, isothermals. Isothermal means temperature. Iso means constant. In isothermal process, the change of a system in which the temperature remains constant. Okay, at isothermal process. Okay, an isothermal process is a thermodynamic process. It is a thermodynamic process in which the temperature of the system remains constant. Again, the same thing is repeated. The transfer of heat into or out of a system happens so slowly that the thermodynamic equilibrium is maintained. Here, this process is slow. This is important. Here, the transfer of heat in and out of a system happens slowly, that the thermodynamic or thermal equilibrium is maintained at a particular constant temperature. The change of a substance, object, or a system is known as isothermal process. For example, the change of a for example, the change of a state or a phase of a different liquid through a process called melting, evaporating are an example of isothermal process. Is an example of isothermal process. Let us move on to the next one, that is adiabatic process. Okay, okay, in adiabatic process, one second. Okay, in adiabatic process, it is a thermodynamic process. Adiabatic process is a thermodynamic process in which there is no exchange of heat. There is no exchange of heat from the system to its surrounding, neither during compression nor during expansion. Okay, once again we will repeat. It is a thermodynamic process in which no exchange of heat from its system to its surrounding, neither during expansion nor during compression, is a process of adiabatic process. Here adiabatic process can be either reversible or irreversible. It can be reversible or irreversible. Following are the essential criteria or condition for the adiabatic process. The first criteria for the adiabatic process is system must be perfectly insulated from the surrounding. The system must be perfectly insulated from the surrounding, and the process must be carried out so quickly so that the sufficient amount of time for heat transfer to take place. So in previous one, that is isothermal process, the process were very slow. Here the process should be very fast. So these are the two things, that is isothermal and adiabatic. Let us move on to the next one, that is laws of conduction. Question number 17. Laws of conduction. Laws of conduction. So let us discuss laws of conduction. Here, laws of conduction is a Fourier law of conduction. The law of conduction of heat, the law of heat conduction, the law of heat conduction, the law of heat conduction, also known as Fourier law, also known as Fourier's law, also known as Fourier's, also known as Fourier's law, states that, also known as Fourier law, states that the rate of heat, the rate of heat transfer, rate of heat transfer through the rate of heat transfer through a material, through a material is proportional to, is proportional to the negative gradient of the negative gradient in the temperature, to the negative gradient, negative gradient in the temperature, in the temperature, negative gradient in the temperature. Okay, and to the area, and to the area at right angles to the gradient, at right angles to the gradient, at right angles to the gradient through which heat flows, through which heat flows. This is the definition of Fourier's law. That is, the law of heat conduction is also known as, the law of heat conduction is also known as Fourier's law. That is, it states that the rate of transfer of heat through a material is proportional to the negative gradient of the temperature and to the area, a right angle to the gradient through the heat, through heat flows. So this is the definition of law of conduction. That is, let us move on to the next one, that is conductance. Next one is conductance. That is question number 18. Let us discuss about conduction. Conductance is a measure of how easily electricity flows along the certain path through a electrical element. Conductance is the measure of is the measure of how easily how easily electricity flows electricity flows along a certain path along a along a certain along a certain path through a electric element through an electric element through an electric element through an electric element. And since electricity is so often explained in terms of opposites, and since electricity electricity is so often so often electricity is so often explained in terms of explained in terms of explained in terms of opposites. Okay, conductance is considered as a opposite of resistance. Yeah, conductance is considered opposite of resistance. So this is the definition of conductance. Once again, we'll repeat this. Conductance is a measure of how easily electricity flows along a certain path through an electric element. Okay, since electricity is often explained in terms of opposites, that is, conductance is the opposite of resistance. Here, resistance is the rigidity, or rigidity of offered to the flow of current, right? So conductance opposite of resistance. Let us move on to the resistance. Next one is resistance. Next one is question number 19. Resistance. Here resistance is a measure of resistance is a measure of is a measure of is measure of the opposition. It is a measure of opposition to the current flow to the it is a measure of opposition to the current flow in an electric circuit. In an electric circuit. In an electric circuit. Here, resistance is measured in terms of ohms. Here, it is represented as ohm. This is a Greek letter omega. Resistance is the measure of opposition to the current flow in an electric circuit. Is the definition of resistance. Let us move on to the next one, that is transmittance. Question number 20. Transmittance. Next one is transmittance. Let us discuss transmittance. Transmittance of the surface of a material. Transmittance of the surface of a material. Transmittance of a surface of a material is its effectiveness in transmitting radiant energy. In transmitting radiant energy. Radiant energy. Here, transmittance of a surface of a material is the effectiveness of transmitting radiant energy. It is the effectiveness of transmittance of radiant energy. Okay. Next point we'll write in this is Okay. It is the fraction of incident electromagnetic power. It is the fraction of fraction of incident electromagnetic power. Incident electromagnetic power. It is a fraction of incident electromagnetic power that is transmitted through a that is transmitted through a simple in contrast to in contrast to in contrast to the transmission coefficient transmission transmission coefficient in, in contrast to the transmission coefficient in which is the ratio of which is the ratio of which is the ratio of transmitted to the incident electric field, which is the ratio of transmitted to the incident electric field. Incident electric field. Okay, let us read once again. It is a fraction of incident of electromagnetic power that is transmitted through a simple in contrast through a okay in contrast to the transmission coefficient. It is a ratio of transmitted to the incident electric field. This is about the transmittance. So this is the complete information of this chapter. If you have any doubts, you can comment in the comment section. Thank you.